There are a lot of people on TikTok and other platforms saying, where is the outrage over the files? And the problem is, it's just a trauma cycle response. You being traumatized and combing through such gross things that of people who don't exist anymore or who have passed away or will never be caught because we live on this side of reality. When God takes over, it's going to be his vengeance, it's going to be his wrath that gets poured out. We don't know how that works, and that's what I have faith in, is God fixing this. I have more faith in that, and because I've seen God fix people like the son of Sam in this side of reality, that's what helped bring me to faith, is seeing people, even like me myself, changing because of Jesus and what he has done. The answer to the files is more of Jesus Christ. I'll also give you another call to action. I'll give you a call to action, something else that you can do, another solution. If you have children pre-K to about 5th or 6th grade, pull them out of school. I will give you information in the description below on a really great system of education. They will provide a computer for you if you make under $3,000, depending on your state. And for us, it was a really good alternative because of an experience that I had when my little girl was in kindergarten. She had a very good pre-K experience, but then in kindergarten, she had a really strange event that occurred. Part of it might have been because it was during a snowstorm and it was in Minnesota, and we're just accustomed to doing things no matter the weather. That's just how it is. And it was a snowstorm that was going on and off, and we had a orientation day. And during this day, which I was really excited about because it's her first time going to public school, we knew we would be one of a few and not one of many because of the storm. And so that's why I decided actually to go. But I also forgot that that means the camera's not on, all the staff is not there. But it also showed me something about the school that made me feel very leery of it. And basically, long story short, we were put in one room down the hallway, and my little girl was taken to her classroom to hang out with the teacher with like maybe 4 or 5 other kids, maybe 8 at the most. I didn't count the kids, but there was not a lot because there was like 6 parents all together. And some of the siblings were there, and some of the siblings went down the hallway. So we're sitting there listening to this lady tell us about the ethics of the school, da da da. So I go down the hallway because the lady says, after all this, we're going to take you guys on a bus ride. Well, it's a snowstorm outside, like it was snowing on and off. So I went down the hallway just to kind of check on my kid. She wasn't there. She had gone on this bus ride, but I didn't really know until one of the staff members popped out because there wasn't a lot of staff during that time because it was a snowstorm. And I think there was a snowstorm early in the morning, and it kind of was going on and off, if I remember. And the lady's like, oh, they already went on the bus ride, and then she kind of just disappeared. Well, I could hear the kids way down the hallway, walking down the hallway from the bus area. They were not chaperoned, so like there was nobody with them. And my kid seemed disoriented, and another kid, a little native kid, was disoriented and kind of crying and acting kind of erratic. And so I couldn't figure out what was going on, and I asked the staff. They said, "You know what? Basically putting me in my place. This is not your business. Go back to your classroom. Kind of just let me know. We don't care what you think. We did this. We let the kids go off on a bus without the parents, which we were told we'd be with them, and mind your business." The kids were not chaperoned. Like nobody came in with them. As a matter of fact, I could hear somebody come in later, but they walked in a different direction and down the hallway. Like nobody wanted to be seen with these kids, which one of them was mine. And then the kids went back in the classroom, took off all of their gear. I went back down the hall to listen to the rest of our little conference. We all popped out to go back into the classroom when we were told to kind of look at the class and listen to what the teacher had to say. The teacher didn't say much because when we kind of looked around and saw everything after a few minutes, just like you do in orientation, the other parents, some of the moms were like, oh, okay, when are we going to go on our bus ride? Because we just kind of were waiting around at some point. And the teacher said, oh, they already went, and then left. It was just weird. And then we're like, oh, okay. And then we're like, all right, so do we just grab our stuff now and just leave? As we're walking out down the hallway where the lady was who said, come back here if you have any questions, that classroom was empty. The teacher was gone. All the staff that were lined up with tables, with cute little pens or whatever, they were gone. And I was just like, well, this is weird. And when we got into the car, this is why I have this TikTok on, because she said her kid had a weird story. And my kid was acting really weird. Like she was acting tired and giddy and then sad and then giddy and then tired. And I said, basically, what happened? Can you tell me what happened on the bus ride? She had a very strange story that I would choose not to repeat because she was little. And so I already knew something was up because of the way school was acting. But this is a paid, tax funded school that could be, because it was a small town, pulled into some type of cult rings. I really don't know what was wrong with that school. All I know is it left me feeling very strange. And, that bus ride wasn't supposed to go very far because there was fresh tracks from where the bus was, in the parking lot and where it went, because it had a special route that it takes that only buses take in order to keep the parents in one place and the bus in the other. I could tell they left the property. I could see the fresh tracks. They actually didn't stay on the property riding around like the school area itself because they had a huge place for where the bus could just go in a circle, whatever. You could tell they left. Where'd they go? I have no idea. They didn't think it was our business. We broke our lease. And because it was a small town, we were told by the people we were renting from, basically, you break this lease, we're gonna have our time. Like, if you need to come back to our company, you're not gonna come back. You broke our lease, and unless things were paid, which we did pay it. We did, and we broke the lease. We moved closer to the school that was a blue ribbon school. Best decision we ever made. It forced us to be somewhere she definitely needed to be. She met teachers and had experiences that changed her life. But if I had to do it over again, if I had a little kid now, pre-K and up to like 5th or 6th grade, not only would she get a flip phone only until she's about 18, that would be one decision I would change. But the other decision I would change is she would be homeschooled until about 6th grade. And again, I'll put that description below of where you can go for better education. It is a virtual public school, meaning that it's funded by the state and controlled by the state. It's not homeschooling. Homeschooling is a free balling, you're on your own. You got to go find a testing site by yourself. You have to make sure to know the regulations. The parent has to be highly involved. This is different. It's a public school education, but it's done virtually from home. I would suggest, if you want to change society in a by very simple steps. And that's making sure that you have access to your child as long as possible, teaching them the things you want them to teach. I'll put a video down below of a man who walked into a school to pull his child out of school because she was down the street protesting with her class as a class activity. Okay, that's taxpayer funded. There's all kinds of agendas that they're pushing on kids from a very young age that are beyond the ideas of a second grader, things about adult concepts pushed on second graders. You got to have access to your kids and raise them up in the way in which you wish them to be for as long as you can. Because once you've kind of hit that middle school window, you start walking into territory where your job is done. You can do very little more to shape your child unless you're kind of aggressive or convincing enough to teach them something. I feel like I've had people as a teenager who came into my life that changed me and shaped me, but it was, they kind of had experience in doing these things. So I got very lucky because I was changed as a teenager. But society will change and there'll be more control over the agendas that are being pumped down our kids' throats from taxpayer organizations. If you have full access to your kid for longer, for more throughout your day. And that means if they're homeschooled, you can see them all the way until you leave in the morning, until you come home at night, and all the way after that. Otherwise, because I know that's not realistic for everybody, but I did work full time with my kid being homeschooled, meaning virtual public education from home, remote learning, but it was a public school. And I'll never regret all the time that I had, because a lot of my life I worked from home, but I got so much access for so long, for such an extensive period of time to my child, more than probably most families do, and I'm very grateful for that. But I do think that that's why we have a very good, my daughter and I have a very good relationship. And if all of society did this, especially all the ones that say they're a Christian, and I know some kids have special educational needs, and it's not realistic for everybody, but even if that money, that public school money was given over to specialists coming into homes who have students who need that special help, that might even be cheaper for us as taxpayers. That actually might be cheaper than funding a whole building, than funding, all these teachers who, by the way, are happier at home. I don't know if you know, I had this other experience when she was in seventh grade, where they, for a whole semester, because it was the end of COVID, had them sitting in a gym for 4 hours a day. And she was in seventh grade. And they were just like, oh, the teachers won't come to school because they're afraid of COVID. It was really weird. And she got no credits that year. So she had to buckle down and do this whole thing for about 5, 6 months at the end of her seventh grade year just to catch up to eighth grade on time. But again, that was homeschooling education or virtual school education through, I think it was Keystone, was that one. Keystone was a private school that actually paid to make sure that she could finish on time. But that saved her. She will graduate on time because I caught it. And finding blue ribbon schools, making sure that your children are aware of what agendas are out there, and to keep an eye out. If you see weird behavior in your local school system, the kids protesting, second graders learning things that you don't want them to learn, if you pull all of them out, it will change a lot of things. You don't have control over who these elitists have access to, but you better believe it was teachers who were compromised and who took a bribe. You better believe that it was some cult rings that were connected to schools, CPS people who were connected to this creepy group of people. And it was a bunch of people who saw it and who recognized there was a problem but didn't say anything. I think if we see the issue, we recognize it, and we hold people accountable by paying attention and being observant, that's a really good way to catch, these shady folks who are taking a bribe to give people access to children. I mean, that's the first step. If you want to actively do that, the first step is to acknowledging that there's something weird going on so that other parents can be aware. And that's what you have access to and the control over. Going through trauma cycles and having them convince you you're not mad enough. Okay, well, being mad doesn't solve any problems. Being mad doesn't bring anybody to justice. But making sure to invest your time and energy in raising your children up in the way to go so that they never depart from it, that will be one way to change society. The other way to change society is to bring the gospel truth so that these people will see that they're taking a bribe because they're evil. And the Holy Spirit working, because I have faith in the Holy Spirit power. The trauma cycling, people going, I've been looking at this all weekend. Why aren't you angry? Yeah, because being angry is going to solve the problem. Looking at it's going to solve the problem. Or it's going to further victimize the people who have been victimized, further humiliate people who could still be alive. And it doesn't even, the psychopaths won't care. Just go ahead and look at the information I have below. I hope this helps. Don't listen to the TikToks telling you to go look for the stuff. We don't know how much of it's true, and it doesn't really solve the issue. But taking back the power as parents will absolutely help the next generation grow to be healthier. May God be with you.